Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wine and Real Estate. So today I'm having more water because it's time of recording 1:40 p.m. Sorry, I don't drink wine at 1:40 p.m. yet. I'm sure once I'm in Pura Vida mode, I might. And today I have an awesome guest, Mark, joining us from beautiful Turks and Caicos. I can't wait to find out more about Mark and your story. I've been following you on Instagram for probably over a year now, and just follow your adventures. And you inspired me, so that's why the background today is palm trees and a sunset instead of a gray day in Ottawa. So, welcome, Mark. If you could tell us about your story, like how did you get started, and maybe a bit of an overview of your story.
Sure. Thank you for having me, François. It's a pleasure to be here. And yeah, it's been a long time coming. We've tried to do this for quite some time. And I'm super excited to hear about your new move as well. I don't know many people who have done what I've done. I know lots of people have done it. I just don't know personally.
Personally, yeah.
So it's super exciting. I guess a quick background on my story. I'm from Prince Edward Island, Canada, and I spent 10 years in Ottawa for school and work before I had enough of winters, basically. Winters in Ottawa are pretty rough.
They
And
are. I was gonna say from PEI, that must have been a rough change.
it was, yeah, I mean, PEI gets a lot of snow, but
But
Ottawa
it's colder here.
cold, yeah. And doing the public transit to a government job. I worked for Health Canada. I did that
Ooh.
for 5 years. Yeah, that's another podcast. But yeah, it was. I mean, I like to play golf. I played a lot of golf when I was in Ottawa, and we had a bad snowstorm in April 2013. And I was like, I had enough. Like, I can't, this is not the life that I want to live. And
No.
I know that there's better opportunities out there. And I started asking myself better questions, why can't that be me? And what do I need to do to get what I want? What do I need to do to be happier? And everything kept kind of gravitating to sun and beach all year long. Like that was just the first step on me living a happier life and not having to check the forecast every single morning to see how many layers of clothing I have to wear. And so that day during the snowstorm, I started taking out cue cards and whiteboarding of places around the world that I might want to live, research the heck out of them. Like this,
Yeah.
everyone thinks I'm so brave for, doing jumping ship and leaving my life back home. It was actually a very calculated risk. Like the amount of information that I had to acquire to make this move, it wasn't so risky in the end. Um, Never heard of Turks and Caicos before. It was not on my top 5 list of places around the world to move. But an opportunity presented itself here, and 8 months later, it was February, and I was sitting by the pool at my new home, and
Wow.
yeah, that was the beginning of a new life for me.
So I'm really shocked. If for those listening, if you know Ottawa, I can't believe, Mark, you gave up Mooney's Bay or Petrie Island. We have beautiful beaches in Ottawa here. They're awesome. I don't know what you mean. Just
Yeah,
kidding. But it
yeah,
makes so much sense. Like you said, winter is super long here in Ottawa. And it's gotten shorter. It's a weird, strange winter, much colder, I find, than when I was a kid. So I've always lived in Eastern Ontario, a bit further east, Hawkesbury. So it's between Ottawa and Montreal. I also lived in Southern Ontario, but I find Ottawa just gets so cold, like December to March or April, you get minus 40. We've had minus 43 for 6 weeks, I think, in 2018. So you missed that. You're very fortunate. It was expensive to heat. And the jobs, like you said, it's the grind. So you hop on transit for hours on end. And now we have a light rail that doesn't work. So instead of an hour and a half, it's 2 hours to get to the office. So, I mean, there's some good things in Ottawa. It's a nice city.
I
As
love
a
Ottawa.
tourist, it's beautiful as a tourist during summer.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense. But okay, I'm curious now. So you said an opportunity came up. What do you do? Do you just lounge by the beach all day, or do you have a job, or how do you
That's
live?
that's what people think. I just drink cocktails by the beach all day.
Yeah, margaritas.
Yeah,
And
the truth is, we and some people think I'm a full-time real estate investor, and I'm actually not full-time. Well, I put full-time hours in, but
yeah,
it's
it's a lot of work.
yeah, it's not my full-time job. I've done a few different things here. So there's different ways you have to consider how to stay in a different country. There's residency rules, right? You can't
Yes.
just, plop yourself in another country and kick back and relax for the rest of your life. There's rules, and most countries don't allow you to stay there indefinitely unless you've got residency. That can come in the form of a temporary permit. It can be a permanent residency permit. You can have a work permit. You can have an investor permit. There's different types of residency that you can acquire. So back then, the easiest for me to acquire residency was through a work permit. That was back,
Okay.
that was back then. Things have changed. But I started out managing a GNC franchise there. I moved on to manage a hardware store, and now I'm in a higher end plumbing and electrical supply store where we supply major fancy appliances and plumbing fixtures, things like that for high end villas and resorts. So that's where I'm at now. And up until this point, it was, do whatever it takes to make
Yeah.
it work and stay. So another road to permanent residency is 10 years of consecutive work permits. So
Okay.
after that, you can then apply for a permanent residency, and then you're basically free. You don't
You're
have
almost there.
almost. Well, yeah, it hasn't been consecutive work permits, but
Oh, okay.
we'll see how that works out. But I feel like it's at this point, 10 years later, for me, for my wife and I, it's going to be easier to obtain residency through real estate.
Okay.
Making real estate investments of a certain value qualifies you to have permanent residency. So you're basically buying your residency, which is a lot
Yeah.
easier than working for 10 years in a row. So
No, it's the same with many countries. So I was curious about that, the work permit. I'm using real estate. Costa Rica, the bar to entry is quite low. It used to be 200,000 US. Now it's 150,000
wow.
US dollars for a family of four or a person or a couple. So it's very low. You're in the Caribbean. I think it tends to be higher,
Mhm.
normally more around 400,000. I'm not sure about your specific situation. But is this also a tax-free country? Is there no income tax or?
Yeah, there's a lot of tax advantages here. There's no income tax, inheritance tax,
Wow,
estate tax, property tax, or capital gains tax.
that's crazy.
Yeah, it really helps with the cash flow. There is a 12%. There's a 12% government tax, which is basically called a tourist tax. Anything tourism, any business that's not owned by a local has to pay 12% tax on all income earned, whether it's like an excursion, a water sport, a restaurant, a resort, an Airbnb, anything that's tourism related, has to pay 12% tax. But that's basically it. When you buy a property, there's a stamp duty that you pay.
Yes.
Basically, it's the equivalent of a land transfer tax in Canada, but it's higher. And so some people kind of balance that or equate it to property tax paid up front instead of year to year. But it's a one-time fee. So you own it for 30 years, you've only paid that tax once up front. You're not paying 30 years of property taxes. So it works out better in the end. But if you only hold on to it for a couple of years, maybe it gets a bit more expensive. But
So it's
those
not a
only taxes. That's all there is.
wow, much simpler. And that, so that, I guess probably not a good country for flips then, if the stamp duties are fairly high. It'd be hard. Well, you have to plan it, I guess.
You have to plan it, and I mean, if there's no capital gains tax, the flip.
Yeah, that part is good.
Yeah.
It's a lot cheaper. So did you, we'll start digging a bit more. Did you have to leave Canadian tax residency, I assume?
That's, we can do another podcast on that experience. I've learned some hard lessons because, like I said,
okay, you learned the hard way.
when I did this, I didn't have anyone to look up to or look around. Like I was navigating this on my own, and at the time, like I thought hanging on to my Canadian residency, I just wasn't educated when I did this, and losing my residency just doesn't sound like something that you'd want to do.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean you're losing your Canadian residency? You're not going to be a Canadian resident. It's like, ooh, it sounds scary. But from my experience, it's all it is a tax term.
That's all it is. Yeah.
You don't lose your citizenship. You're always going to be a Canadian citizen. So I kept like applying to the CRA, like, please, like, I know I'm living in a different country, but I plan to come back, and I have ties.
Oh, no.
Like, and each year they're like, yep, you're still a resident of Canada.
Oh yeah, they don't care.
and then they were like, oh, but now you need to pay tax on all the income you're earning outside of Canada.
Yes.
Like, oh shoot, like I'm not doing this right. So then the next year I was like, okay, look, I'm a non-resident of Canada because I'm making full-time income here. I don't want to pay a super high tax rate on that. And then they're like, okay, you're not a resident anymore. But remember that RSP first home buyers plan that you took
gotta pay it back
then, and you were paying the minimum amount each year. Well, now that you're a non-resident, you owe it all back in one shot.
Yeah.
It's like for those 2 or 3 years, I was just getting hit from every side of, things that people don't tell you. But you know what? It's part of the learning game. It's an experience, and I got through it, and I don't regret any of it. Like those are small problems in the grand scheme of things. Those are small things. So, if someone's considering on leaving their country, all I can say is I would recommend talking to an accountant who knows what's what, and even the CRA can help as well. Navigate that. They're very helpful. Depending on who you get, they're very helpful on letting you know what's what once you leave and setting things up properly. So I don't regret it. It's been a great experience.
Yeah, there's a lot of fear. Like now that I mentioned my story, I'm leaving. People are like, "Oh, you're gonna lose your citizenship." Like you said, you don't lose it like that. I could do like you did, just continue paying my taxes to Canada, and doesn't matter. I'm gonna lose healthcare. Ontario, where I live, will allow 7 months away. I think it's 212 days per year you can be gone. And Newfoundland is 8 months away. And then the rest of Canada is 6 months. If you go beyond that, you don't have healthcare, for what it's worth. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. But personally, it's not a big loss. It might be actually a gain, in my opinion. But anyway, that's another topic. But also, yeah, planning. You need to plan it very carefully. Your exit. People hear about deemed disposition. So if I own a lot of real estate in Canada. When you leave, if you want to leave tax residency, they say you have to pay capital gains on everything you own as if you've sold it, which is true, and it's not true all at once. So it is, but you can defer it. So the CRA will allow you to say, yes, I sold it, but in a way I didn't, so I'll pay it when I sell it. So it's really dumb. Yeah. It's like a lot of taxes, like HST, you can pay it, claim it, all that fun stuff. So make sure to inquire. But then you get this beautiful lifestyle. So you have a job now at a company. I guess it's similar to Canada. You work probably kind of 9 to 5, or what is it like working there? Is it longer hours or?
Yeah, most people, the majority of people who come here end up working more than when they did back home in Canada
Okay.
or the US. Um, working back there is very yeah, it's 9 to 5 type thing back home, but here it's like I'm 7:30 to 5 right now, but I have we're off at 4 on Fridays, and a lot of people work Saturdays. Most people work Saturdays. It's a 6-day work week here.
Yeah, that's common, and like we're not used to that in North America.
No, it took me a little bit of getting used to, but in the end, like the trade-off is just worth it. I mean, if you're chances are, if you've got the mindset, if you've got the capacity to lift yourself up and move to a different country, I don't know, it lazy people don't do that.
No,
So,
it's a lot of work.
it's a lot of work and like you said, planning and the mindsets, people who have the mindset to want more and achieve more and to move to a different country and live a better life, they're not lazy. They're not lazy people. So in that respect, they don't mind working harder to live that better life.
Yeah.
And we 365 days a year, we can go to the beach after work.
Yeah, that's
Like
insane.
we're working really hard, 7:30 to 5. My wife's 9 to 5. But we still have 3 hours after work where we can go for a walk on the beach and relax. And
Yeah,
so every single weekend, where like um,
in
we live just
paradise.
2 minutes. Yeah, we live in paradise. We live 2 minutes from the beach. It's to get that lifestyle. I'm working 5.5 days per week and a little few extra hours, but like, it's totally worth it.
Yeah, I'm sure things are more relaxed as well. Are things kind of island time? You're not as super stressed, or I've never been, so I can't
Yeah.
say. But
Well, you'll find out when you move soon. It's a double-edged sword. It's nice and peaceful and relaxing, and you want to get things done.
oh, that's when it gets stressful.
Well, yes and no. That's what I'm getting at. It's easier on one hand to get things done because you don't have to get so many permissions
Yeah,
and pass all these rules and regulations and boards and voting. Like you just hire somebody and they do it. But the flip side is you, it may take longer.
much longer.
Much longer, and they just don't show up to work one day and they don't tell you, or they show up to the job and don't have the tools and they expected you to provide the tools.
Oh wow.
It's things like that, and it's just the way of life in the tropics. It's just a different way of life, and it's normal, and we're on their land, so you need to respect that and adapt. You can't come here and expect things to be the same as they were back where you came from.
No, that's it. I think that's one way is having that right mindset that you are enjoying some perks, and with some perks, there are some drawbacks. Just like Canada, it's very neat and orderly, but in December, you're home at 3 p.m. and it's dark outside already, and there's no beach unless you like white sand, really, really white,
Yeah,
and very cold.
I'm definitely spoiled. I mean, I see at this time of year, I'm seeing pictures and video of how happy and how much fun people are having back home on the beach, and like, I'm happy for them. I really am. But I'm looking at the beach and the water, and I'm
It's brown water, yeah.
how can you swim in water where you can't see the bottom? I don't understand.
I know I go paddle boarding most weekends, and my wife and I are always like, "Yeah, don't fall because I don't know what's under
Yeah,
under this."
exactly. I remember swimming in Meech Lake one time when I was training for my half Ironman, and uh, you're swimming in that lake, and the water it's fresh water, but I came face to face like with dead fish,
Oh
like
yeah.
swimming, and I was just like, it was just ugh. But anyway, yeah, it's the water here is crystal clear, the sand's powdery white, and that's what I've become accustomed to for the last 10 years.
Wow.
Getting back to getting things done here, I mean, nothing is online. You have to
Oh no.
you have to physically go in person for driver's licenses, for health records, for paying anything. You have to go to the treasury office, and there's always lineups, of course.
Yes.
So there's, I mean, and banking.
Yeah, how is banking? I'm curious because Costa Rica, that is, you just want to go.
Yeah. So there are three commercial banks here and many other private lenders. Um, the the cost of financing here is higher. Personal homes actually are pretty good. Personal homes, you can get up to 90% financing.
Oh wow.
It's great. Yeah. And relatively lower interest rates, hovering right now around 6%,
So it's
which
cheaper than Canada right now then.
6% is fantastic.
Yeah.
If you go with the private lenders, I mean, at the time of this recording, they're sitting like 9-10%.
Okay, so not too bad really. Under 14, I invest globally, so under 14 doesn't phase me. I've heard of 25, then okay, let's just put it on a credit card. At that point, I'll get some points.
Exactly. So, yeah, but that's the interest rate, and then the
Yeah,
down payment when you're with the private lenders, um,
50%
50
or
to 50 to
40.
60%, yeah, is what you need to put down. Um, but the private lenders are much easier to deal with.
Yeah.
They want your business. They run as a business. Um, they're pleasant to deal with. They respond quickly, but you pay for it.
Yeah.
The commercial banks, they'll give you 90% financing and they're somewhat welcoming, but they lose your documents. You're on the day that you're supposed to waive conditions, they're asking for more information, which they could have
Uh,
asked 6 weeks ago. Um, they just they don't care as much for your business, unfortunately. They just don't. So it's a balance. I mean, there's pros and cons to the commercial banks, and there's pros and cons to the private lenders as well. So it just depends what kind of investment you're doing, what kind of capital you have available, what you need to make the deal work will determine what kind of lender you use.
And what kind of property do investors look for? Because I see your posts on Instagram. It's a really great account to follow. We'll have to make sure at the end to tell the listeners about it. I really enjoy your different posts on lifestyle and mindset. But let's say I want to invest on your islands, what should I look for? What's a good property?
So the first thing that I do a lot of Zoom calls with followers from
I can
Instagram,
imagine.
and they, and they're asking the same questions, and we end up first differentiating between an investment and a vacation property for
Yeah,
the
that's it. Very
because
different.
they're very different. When I'm usually talking to investors, they're dreaming of this 2-bedroom villa or condo on the beach, um, and they want to rent it out when they're not there.
Will it cash flow?
There's no cash flow. There's no cash flow with those types of
No.
investments. They
The fees and everything, HOA or
HOA
condos
and
and
condo fees are just they're extortionate. It's crazy how high some of these, like, it's not unheard of to have a $1,500 a month condo fee. That's,
okay.
1,000, 1,500 can be very easily found at these
Wow.
resorts. Also, along Grace Bay, which is where everybody knows about and dreams about, you're actually not allowed to. All the resorts there do not allow you to rent out your property on your own. You have to.
Goes in a rental pool. Okay, so you lose
You have
even
no
more
say.
money there.
Yeah, you have no say over maintenance, labor, or material costs. Nothing. If something's broken, they could just as easily replace it, instead of a $5
Fix.
fix, and you
Wow.
don't have a say over that because you're not there. So our investments are not on Grace Bay. They're in Turtle Cove, which is a little, I guess you can call it like a suburb of Grace Bay. It's only like a 7-minute, 6-7 minute drive from Grace Bay. Everything's close on the island. This is a quieter place, not as much hustle and bustle. The entry point to investing is much lower as well. Still can have nice views of the ocean, but just not, they're back. They're not. You're not
Right on.
opening your doors onto the beach.
Yeah.
So we have 4 there, and they're about a 10-minute, less than 10-minute walk to the beach.
Oh, that's
Uh,
great.
a 1 to 2 minute drive. And so these condos, they're not luxurious. They're small studio condos, and we target that audience who wants to come to Turks and Caicos and just have a nice, comfortable place to sleep, change clothes, and then go out in the day and explore the island, all the beaches, the water sports, the restaurants, and that's where they spend their money.
Yeah, it's really a crash pad. You sleep, it's clean, it's decent, but
Right.
it's not fancy. You don't have like infinity pools and helipads and
Well, the pool you see here behind me is the pool at one of our
oh,
places, but
well, that's quite nice. Okay, but the condo itself is small and
it's
more
small.
basic.
It's small. It's basic. But it has a kitchen. It has everything you need. It could technically be a long-term rental. It was in the past. They were in the past. But yeah, so we tailor it to those travelers who just they want to spend their money outside the condo, outside,
Yeah,
and not
excursions
you're
and
not watching Netflix for 10 hours a day.
I hope not in that on that beautiful island. That would be really dumb.
You'd be shocked at some of the complaints that some
Oh,
of the
I believe it.
reviews, like why are you complaining? Why are you not on the beach? Like,
The Wi-Fi is bad, but unless you have to work, it's a long stay. But otherwise, yeah, seriously, get out, do something, enjoy life.
exactly. So yeah, these so that's what I mean, the difference between an investment and a vacation
Yeah,
rental that you want to use personally. You got to take the emotion out of it. You're either investing here
it's a
or
business
it's a
or not.
business. Yeah. So yeah, these little studios, you'd be surprised what they can do.
Well, I can imagine, like you said, it's beautiful. You got great connections, I'm sure, for flights, and it's the lifestyle. And as you said, it's nice year round. So that's also different because some locations, I know I talk about Costa Rica. There's rainy season. You don't really have that. There's hurricanes and things, but it's short and it's probably like in Florida. Their hurricane season, it rains for 3 hours and then everything's beautiful and it's back to normal. You got to pick up some palm trees.
Florida, I mean, the weather lately, I mean, around the world, everyone can see what's going on. Like, it's just the weather's been wild.
Yeah.
We kind of live in a bubble here, if in many respects. But I've been here 10 years. We've had one really bad hurricane in 2017. It
Okay.
devas- it
Wow.
devastated the island. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. It was bad, but power and water services were back up and running pretty quick. The After a couple of months, I mean, the power and the water, took a few days or weeks depending on where you were.
Yeah.
But after 2 to 3 months,
You couldn't tell.
you couldn't. I mean, in the lower income areas, it was more obvious, but
Okay.
in all the tourist area, Grace Bay area, you really couldn't tell that much. It bounced back very, very quickly, and that's the one bad hurricane in 10 years. I'll take those odds any
Yeah.
any day of the week compared to the tornadoes and the earthquakes and the forest fires and floodings, that you see everywhere else. People are like, "Aren't you scared of hurricanes?"
I'll take my chances.
Uh,
I know that used to be one of my arguments. In Ottawa, we've been hit with tornadoes almost every year since 2018. and it
Mhm.
rips through the city. And we had one last summer, 100 kilometers wide. So that
Wow.
was quite a big tornado, and you can still see the damage from it.
Wow.
Some people had no power for a few weeks, I think. So really, yeah, there's nowhere that's perfectly safe, but
Exactly.
it's interesting to hear at least things went back online fairly quickly, and it's warm. It's not like you're gonna die from lack of heating if the power goes out.
It's the opposite. People want the AC back on.
Yes,
It's too
but
warm.
go in the pool, too bad, or
Yeah,
the beach.
exactly. So yeah, it's not there's some prejudices about Turks and Caicos, but they're not true. Having lived here for 10 years, there's a lot of surprising things about this place that I think would surprise people. So, and hurricanes is one of them. They're not. It's not. I mean, we never know what the future is going to bring.
No.
All I can talk about is the last 10 years,
Yeah.
and it's been pretty good.
Yeah, that sounds like really good odds. Like you said, I mean, here we've had forest fires this summer. The air was unbreathable for a few weeks, and that's not something normal. So who knows what's next? But you get to enjoy the beach every day, as like you said, a beautiful lifestyle. So what if my listeners want to follow you and hear more about your journey? What's the best way to find out more?
So, I mean, if they're not already following me on Instagram, I do have, I think, a fairly wide range of content from educational to lifestyle to inspirational. I don't want it to be so strict on boring investing stuff, right? So,
Yeah,
uh, I think it's a good variety. You can follow me there at Palm Tree Life. It's palm.tree.life. They can also email me at Mark, M-A-R-K, at perryinvestments.ca. I'm happy to answer questions. I respond quickly because if I can help other people live this kind of lifestyle, I'm more than happy to do so. So at this time, I can afford that time to people and give them that time. So take advantage of it.
yeah, that sounds amazing. Well, everybody, make sure to check out Mark's account on Instagram. It's really fun to watch. And like you said, the variety is great. I love it. I'm a marketing person, so I always get excited when I see all these different posts and variety. I'm like, yay, somebody's doing it. It's great. So it's been a pleasure, Mark. I'll let you get back to the beach and the margaritas. Just kidding. I know you got to work as well.
Not today. It's a holiday. There's a lot of
It's a
holidays.
holiday. Perfect. Well, enjoy your holiday. I don't want to take away too much from your day. It was a pleasure, and we'll have to connect again in a while. I want to see what's next, or maybe even visit in person now that might not be too far from Central America. So thank you very much. And until the next time, let's stay in touch. Cheers.
For sure. Thanks, François. I appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Have a great
Thank
day.
you. Bye.
Bye.